Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday's edition of our town hall meeting. We're going to talk a lot today about some of the work that's going to be done in Canterbury Woods early next week. And some of you are familiar with what we did last year, I think in when was it, the fall, Chuck?
Yep.
Where we actually had to bring a crane into the main entrance area, shut down the main entrance, and we had to crane a new huge portion of our heating and ventilation system up to the top of one of the roof. Well, we have to do some of that work again, and it's just a reflection of having a building that's 21 plus years old and making sure that we continue to keep all of our systems up to date and working. As you can imagine, when it's 90 plus degrees out there, really working hard from an air conditioning standpoint. So a lot of information will be going out to the residents today in writing, memos, etc. But I wanted to share it at Town Hall, so I'll talk about it today, and I will touch base on it on Friday as well. So this starts here on the Williamsville main campus Sunday. It'll start on Sunday with moving cars, and it'll wrap up on Wednesday. So just to go through it, if you look up here, you look at the map, of course, this is the main entrance as I'm using the pointer here. You can see going around the main entrance, this is the front door of Canterbury Woods down here. Hopefully you can see it via the pointer. Front door, main entrance area. So starting on Sunday afternoon, maintenance will be working to clear this whole area of cars, including the residents that have designated spaces here. And for the residents that have designated spaces here, it's these residents here, down here, and down here. It's about 15 to 18 residents. What we will do is we're going to designate spaces for you for Monday and Tuesday way at the end of the main entrance. So if you follow my pointer down in here, or over on the sides here, which are visitors parking. So few spaces at the end, and the sides you'll be hearing from our facilities staff, if you haven't already, over the next couple of days, probably Chuck or Lori. We have to clear this all out, so we won't be using the handicap spaces. All of these spaces in here that are more towards the front, those are visitor spaces, they'll all be cleared out. Because starting on Monday morning, on this side of the main entrance, so the entrance portion, if somebody's entering the semicircle here to drop somebody off or pick them up, that area we will have a crane. So a very similar crane that we had last year is depicted by kind of this box here. And then behind the crane we'll have support vehicles, a tractor trailer, etc. With the different units and equipment that we're going to be putting on the roof. All of these lines here basically depict the swings of the crane and the different units that we have to replace. So on this side, when the crane's on this side of the driveway here, you can see we have to replace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different heating and ventilation units. So they all require a lot of personnel, they require a lot of equipment, and they require a lot of safety procedures because, again, we're moving very heavy equipment up onto the roof, obviously taking off the old equipment as well. So that's why we have to shut everything down here. So this side, most of this will happen on Monday. This equipment, this heating and ventilation equipment is used only for the common areas, the hallways. This room, Coventry Hall, that will be replaced. The unit that heats and ventilates this unit, the unit that heats and ventilates the main dining room here on the main campus, that will be replaced. Of course, we're not using the main dining room right now, so it's actually a perfect time to do it. And some of those units will be down for a day or a half day while we make the switch over. We're going to prioritize the units that are in the hallways to make sure that we get them done as quickly as possible for obvious reasons, because our residents are in the hallways, and the hallways, we want to keep to a good temperature during this season. So this work will happen on Monday, or most of this, and then what will happen is once they've completed this, they will move the crane over to this side, the exit side of the main entrance. The crane will go over here, as will the support vehicle. We're going to keep this all closed no matter where the crane is, but for some of day 2, we'll have the crane here. And during day 2, we will do 3 or 4 different HVAC units on the other side of the campus. So over Cambridge, there's a couple units. Over Kent, there's a unit. All that have to be replaced. Those are the units that moderate the temperature, heating, ventilation, air conditioning in the hallways of Cambridge and in Kent. So this will be a 2-day exercise. I can tell you that residents, staff, etc. will still be able to go in and out the main door as we set up the protocols now. Visitors are going to have to find spots out here. So we have a bunch of visitor parking over here, staff and visitor parking kind of on the Cambridge side of the campus. We have some over here. It's going to be a little inconvenient for a couple of days, but ultimately very necessary to make sure that our systems in the main building are replaced as appropriate. They've kind of spent their useful life, these systems, and of course we want to make sure that they're replaced in a timely fashion, because heaven forbid they should go down and aren't working, especially in days that it's 85 to 90 degrees. So we appreciate your patience and working with us on this. What will happen is, if the crane is moving and if the boom of the crane is over any of the pedestrian areas or parking areas, we will have security and our staff will be out there working with the contractor staff. We'll just make sure that at that time we shut off any walking traffic that's come into the main building. It'll take a couple of minutes. And once the crane is safely doing its work over these areas, we will let people walk into the building and come in, etc. Just like we did last fall when we went through this process again. If you remember last fall when we did this, we had to actually evacuate a few residence apartments on the 3rd floor of Trafalgar, so right in here. And that was principally because the unit that we replaced was super heavy. Fortunately, all of these units that we're replacing next week are not as heavy, not as big, so we will not have to evacuate or ask any residents to leave their apartments for any time during this process. Everything will be safe. The units are not even nearly as heavy as the one that we had to deal with last fall, so that shouldn't be a problem at all. Bear with me for a second. So on Monday and Tuesday, we'll be at the front entrance, and then at the end of the Tuesday, if all goes well, we'll be moving the crane from the front entrance down here to Kent. And this is of course the Kent Village right here, as I'm circling. Right here, this is Kent. We'll be moving the crane to the circle in Kent, so that circle will be cordoned off. Not a lot of people are using it. Obviously, it's easy to get in and out there. We won't have to move any cars. The support vehicle for that crane will be in the circle as well. And then during the day on Wednesday, they will be replacing a couple of units that service Kent as well. You can see this. So Monday and Tuesday, the main entrance, and on Wednesday, down at Kent. Perfect case scenario again, it will take 2.5, 3 days. Keep in mind, as we know, nothing perfect right now. So if it rains or it pours, if it's windy, it can't be more than 20 miles an hour for wind because of the safety of the crane. We may have to play with time periods and so on, but best case scenario, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this will be done. Starting on at the end of the day, Tuesday or end of Wednesday, the residents who will have to move their cars from the front of the main building up here will be able to bring their cars back as we open up that space. More information to come on this. Written information will go out today for all of our residents. You'll hear from Chuck or Lori, those residents whose cars will be affected. Certainly, if you have any questions, you can call Lori, leave her a message, she'll get back to you. And we think that this is going to be a relatively painless process. It's going to be inconvenient, but it is, as I'm saying, excuse me for a second, allergies. As I said, it's very necessary to continue to make sure that our heating and ventilation and air conditioning equipment is up to date in our main building. A few other things today. A change that we're making, of course, we started our tent dining at the end of last week, and it's gone very, very well. Our feedback has been great. The one area that is not going as well is lunch here in the main building in Trafalgar. We're only getting sometimes less than 10 people. So on Friday, we're going to change that up a little bit and make it no reservations. So starting on Friday, and there'll be more information to come on this, but starting on Friday, you will not have to make reservations for lunch here behind me to dine in the main tent here in the Trafalgar dining room space, tent space. So we encourage everybody that if they want to have lunch, come down. You know, if it doesn't pick up, if we're still only serving 10 or less people, we may have to consider not having lunch. But at this point, we hope that not having reservations for lunch will entice more people to come. We know, and I've gotten some feedback on this, we know that there's a bad geese problem this year. Unfortunately, with all that happened on the main campus and what we were dealing with security, we usually put some processes into place to try to manage the geese problem, and they just weren't effective this year. For those residents who are newer, we have used dogs in the past for many years, you know, to various degrees of success. We have done other things to try to lessen our geese problem. They always seem to find their way back, as they tend to do. This year's been the worst that I've seen. It takes all of my strength not to have my car kind of surge forward at any given time when they're in the middle of the road, or other things to try to lessen the problem, because it's very frustrating. I know it's frustrating for our residents as well, and obviously they make a tremendous mess. We're going to continue to do what we can this year. It's late in the season, they've already had their babies, they are protected, but certainly we've talked about going into next year being more aggressive to manage our geese problem. So I apologize that it's gotten away from us a little bit this year with everything else that's been going on. We'll continue to try to mitigate that, try to keep things as clean as possible, and I'll do my best not to strangle one of them. One last thing, again, here we are, they're moving towards the middle of July, still no cases for our residents, and the health center are independent, of course, a milestone, and certainly we worked very, very hard to get to that point. I appreciate, and I have taken note, that residents in the common spaces, as they're going to and from dining, etc., are doing a really, really good job wearing their masks, wearing it over their nose, really making that extra effort. I know that we have had to talk to some residents and remind them to wear them appropriately. We're going to continue to do that. If for anything, unfortunately, to annoy the residents that sometimes forget to the point where they're just not going to forget anymore. So our goal is the same with all our residents, with our staff, is to keep everybody as safe as possible. We're very fortunate here in New York State, here in Western New York, hopefully for the next couple of months, that we see our cases declining. Somebody asked me, particularly to dining and so on, what are we going to do in the fall? What are we going to do when the weather changes? And my answer to that is, if you could predict where COVID's going to be in Western New York in the fall, then I'll let you know where we're going to be, but we just can't predict that. So we're going to continue to take it from a safety perspective, day to day, week to week. Please wear your masks. Please wear them appropriately. Please wear them in common areas. Please social distance appropriately. Please wear them when you're outside visiting with fellow residents. Please wear them when you're outside in the greater community. We're all in this together, folks. Thank you, and I'll see you again on Friday.